We're down to the single digits. Only 8 more days in the legislative session, and the pressure is on for hot-button issues like the Pastor Protection First Amendment Defense Act and campus carry. These are exactly the kind of issues that legislators take home as they run for re-election. Welcome to Lawmakers. I'm Bill Nigut. It is day 32 of the 2016 legislative session. Some big news today as the Senate Judiciary Committee votes to allow campus carry at Georgia public colleges and universities. Let's go to Shelby Lynn for the latest on this and other news in her Capitol report. Hi, Shelby.
That's right, Bill. Campus carry legislation took front and center at the Capitol today. A key Senate committee passed House Bill 859 on a vote of 5-3 at a packed hearing this afternoon. The measure has moved quickly through the General Assembly this session after a campus carry provision was removed 2 years ago from legislation that legalized concealed guns in most public places in Georgia. The bill also moved quickly out of committee today after efforts at amending the legislation failed. The Senate Judiciary Committee passed HB 859 in less than a half hour. The legislation would make it legal for people 21 and older with a weapons permit to carry guns on public colleges and universities across Georgia. Republican Representatives Mandy Ballinger and Rick Jaspers sponsored the bill.
This bill is about personal safety, the ability of Georgians to defend themselves if needed. The issues of carelessness, anxiety, and such is not born in fact. These Georgians we're talking about are responsible. Their track record has shown it. The problem it will solve is Georgians' ability to defend themselves.
It's about freedom. It's about freedom for our college students to be able to defend themselves, to not be victims. It's not a mandate. It's not a you have to. It's about changing perceptions. And it's about allowing people the freedom in the state of Georgia on our college campuses to not be victims.
5 amendments were put forward during the hearing, including 3 from Democrat Vincent Fort. Jaspers made it clear right away that he did not support amending the measure in any way. One of the amendments would have allowed law enforcement officials to ask to see a gun permit from a person carrying a weapon.
It just seems to me that it's a reasonable, common sense amendment to say, to strike that provision. And that's what this amendment does. It will allow law enforcement to make inquiry with someone whether or not they have a license, weapons carry license in order to carry a weapon. And it seems to me when you're talking about campus carry, you're talking about 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, and it seems to me that it cries out for the need for training. As it exists now, the person who applies for a carry permit, from what I understand, does not have that they have had any training.
Another amendment would have allowed a non-binding vote in November on whether Georgians support campus carry legislation.
All those in favor of the motion to amend, please signify by raising your hands. All right, all opposed? That fails 2-6.
All the amendments failed. The crowd that packed into the hearing room was upset at times and voiced their support for the amendments. In fact, so much so, Committee Chair Josh McCoon threatened to have everyone ejected from the room. In the end, HB 859 easily passed out of committee.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. All opposed? That passes 5-3. That concludes our agenda. We are adjourned.
Opponents of the campus carry law, like Carol Allen with the group Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, became very vocal after the vote. Allen is frustrated. She says HB 859 will make campuses less safe for students and faculty. She also says polls show that 78% of Georgians are against this measure.
These senators do not care about the citizens of this state. They don't care at all. They don't care what we think. They're doing what they want. They are in the back pocket of the gun lobby. The gun lobby's in their back pocket. Georgia Carry, that's who they represent. If you think that these senators represent you on this bill, they don't.
Allen and other campus carry opponents were very upset after the hearing, Bill, as you could hear in that last soundbite. But HB 859 has support from both the leadership in the House and Senate and Governor Nathan Deal. The measure could come up for a vote on the Senate floor before the end of the week.
All right, Shelby, thank you so much. We'll see you again tomorrow night. So I'm here tonight on set with Jim Galloway, the longtime political writer at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Senator Elena Parent, she's a Democrat representing Atlanta, and Representative Kevin Tanner, a Republican from up there in Dawsonville. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Before we start talking, let's look at a new anti-campus carry ad that was released recently by the national group Every Town for Gun Safety, and use that as a point of departure. Watch.
College tests a student's judgment and responsibility, and sometimes students make bad decisions, especially when alcohol is involved. Add guns to the mix and those bad decisions can turn deadly. That's why college presidents, campus police chiefs, and Georgians agree guns in the hands of college kids in classrooms, at tailgates, or at parties is a bad idea. But Georgia politicians are trying to force guns onto college campuses anyway. Tell your state legislator, college students, guns, and alcohol don't mix.
So clearly, Representative Tanner, if I could start with you, an ad that urges senators now to defeat campus carry. It doesn't strike me that that's a likely scenario. What do you think about what's happening with that bill?
I don't think so. I think with the governor coming out in support of the legislation last week, that there's a very good chance that that bill will move through the Senate and get to the governor's desk for signature. And the House passed it primarily along party lines, but I think we'll see probably the same thing in the Senate.
Senator Parent, your take on all of this. You're going to have to deal with this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's a very curious thing. You know, I mean, we know that Georgians in general are opposed. We know that the university presidents are all opposed. Students on college campuses are opposed. All 29 police chiefs are opposed. I'm not sure why the legislature feels the need to ram this down the throats of Georgia's universities. I might note that Jan Brewer in Arizona vetoed a similar bill several years ago because the facts just don't match up with any of the protect oneself rhetoric.
And just given that level of opposition, I'm going to be very interested, if this bill passes, if the governor signs it, how implementation is conducted, because you have such strong opposition within university circles.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, Representative Tanner. What happens on a college campus where the administration is aligned against the measure? They're going to have no choice to deal with it, but there are an awful lot of things that have to happen around campus carry, things that have to be put in place. So you're going to need administrators to be able to agree to do and to move forward on, yes?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that we're talking about, currently it's a gun-free zone, and we saw University of Virginia, or the Colorado theater shooting. They all have one thing in common, and they're gun-free zones. This just extends the Second Amendment right to these students to be able to carry a gun onto a college campus. They have to be 21, which I think is an important thing to note. Many of our college students today are adults that are attending college. They're not a traditional student, and this just gives them that opportunity to extend their Second Amendment rights. They also have to be licensed, so they went through a background check. That has been no felony convictions, and they have that license to carry. So I don't think we'll have any issues implementing. I think that once the college presidents realize that this is going to be the law in Georgia, they will be in compliance with that.
Well, first of all, it's complete mythical thinking that crimes are averted by the presence of a weapon. And for the very, very few times that occurs, it is completely outweighed by huge numbers of accidents and suicide. And the fact of the matter is that a presence of a gun simply does not make things safer. And I might note as well that Texas has lost a renowned dean over their campus carry. Faculty in Texas have started to aggressively push back on this, and I think the opinions of those that actually run our colleges and teach our students should not be so easily dismissed. What is it about the wisdom of the legislature that does not run any College of Georgia or is not charged with keeping the students safe that makes us think that we should substitute our judgment.
No, we know that the bill would not permit, and we're just talking handguns, correct?
That's correct.
Handguns in dormitories, fraternity houses, or sorority houses, and athletic events. Would faculty have any kind of control over what comes into their classroom, what does not?
I don't believe so.
Well, the guns would have to be concealed. That was a change made from the original version that was introduced. So the guns would have to be concealed. So folks who are in class with guns that have carrying permits, the other people around them wouldn't know they even had one. And the thing I think we have to keep in mind that I spent 20 years working in law enforcement. I can tell you firsthand that a bad person with a gun is not concerned about what the law is, whether they can have a gun legally on a college campus. This just allows law-abiding adults who have a carrying concealed permit to be able to protect themselves. And I think that's important.
Is this already happening?
It's what already happened.
Do we already have handguns on campus concealed?
Not currently in Georgia.
Not legally.
Not legally.
Not legally.
But
Absolutely, there are handguns in Georgia on college campuses illegally. There's handguns everywhere in Georgia that are being carried by bad people. So yes.
Let me
by good people.
That's correct.
Senator Rick Jaspers, author of the bill, and others who support the legislation, they always point out that after the so-called Guns Everywhere legislation passed last year, there has been no incident that suggests that people have wantonly gone out and shot up a restaurant or another public place where they've carried their weapons. And they say that points to the fact that these are alarmist concerns that the opponents like yourself are raising.
Well, I find that interesting because I do know that on the eve of the last Guns Everywhere bill going into effect, a gentleman terrorized a Little League game. Then there's the infamous case of the gentleman who bullied travelers at Hartsfield. To me, those are not incidents to be laughed off. Okay. I think people were afraid. I think it's a tragedy that law enforcement had to be diverted to the incidents of checking out, what people were doing, sort of terrorizing and bullying average citizens. And, we're talking about a different sphere entirely in college campuses. And as a matter of fact, we don't have to guess. Both in Utah and Colorado, campus rape has gone up since they instituted campus carry.
So, Representative Tanner, let me ask you a different question about this. We taped an interview earlier this evening that'll air tomorrow night with Senator Tommy Williams, a Republican about to retire, and people will hear his thoughts on this show tomorrow evening. And he made an interesting comment. He's not running for re-election. Mm-hmm. And he said, at a certain point, we've just got to stop continuing to pass gun legislation. Here's a Republican, and a pretty conservative one in many ways, who now freed from worrying about re-election feels, I think, a little easier about making a comment like that. How much does having to go back home and run for re-election play into how you all look at an issue, a hot-button issue like this?
I think that would be an individual question. For me personally, I try to make all my decisions based on what's in the best interest of Georgians, not concerned about getting reelected. I think if you come to Atlanta being concerned about the next election, you're not going to do a good job for Georgians. Personally, my personal opinion on this issue is I'm a very staunch supporter of the Second Amendment, and I think that the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. And unless someone has committed a crime and if they're of age, they should have a right to carry a gun. And I don't think that should stop at a college campus. We have solved, since 2007, the violent crime rate in Georgia has decreased, but on college campuses it continues to rise at a very alarming rate. And I just think I have 3 daughters who are all going to be going into college, and I'm concerned about their inability under current Georgia law to carry a firearm onto a college campus and protect themselves when they walk from their cars to their classrooms. And I think we're doing a disservice to our young people and not being able to protect themselves.
Jim, we're going to talk in a few minutes about where the religious liberty bills stand right now, but you've been hearing these reports that, it's the the Senate that's been gung-ho for religious liberty, more extreme, some would call them extreme measures, and the House that's kind of pushed back on that. It's the House that's gung-ho over campus carry and other gun bills, and the Senate that's pushed back a bit. And you've heard rumors that there might be some horse trading here.
Right. I mean, there's and it wouldn't be unheard of. But you have each chamber specializes in their social conservative issue, and often you have you have kind of a little contest to see who will move on the other chamber's specialty first. I think in this case, you do have something different going on with the governor signaling that he's on the side of campus carry for the first time in his career as governor. He ran for re-election saying he would oppose it. So that's a big change. And then on the other hand, he's kind of signaled his impatience with a lot of the hard pressers on religious liberty.
You're going to have a hard time. I mean, obviously you're outnumbered in the Senate, as Kevin Tanner said. You know, in the House, this came down along party lines. It's going to do the same in the Senate. So it's going to be pretty hard to stop this, isn't it?
Yes, but I do think that this one, it's very clear where the opinion is. I think it's serious overreaching.
But it'll pass.
I would suggest that there is one person not running for re-election who could follow Governor Jan Brewer's lead and recognize the opinion he's always held and veto this legislation.
All right. Well, I hope the governor's watching to hear your advice on that.
I'll be happy to repeat it for him.
All right.